Okay, let's get started again. Pardon? Yeah, maybe don't panic. The scanner is not working. Yeah, so whenever that happens to me, I just pretend that everybody was here. Oh, and this was on camera. This is not good. Okay, yeah, never mind. So yeah, our scanner is not working, so you were all here. So yeah, I'm captured on the video. This will be a private video, yeah? Okay, now we come to the second part of the lecture. We look a little bit at planning. Yeah, and I want to first set a little bit the scene. This may be a repetition for some of you if you have covered this already. Yeah, so the first notion is really planning to avoid chaos. And I follow here really the most simple idea. So we start off by having a quick look, and I go in quite some detail actually in 3 weeks on that. Project control and steering, I do like it. Yeah, well, that is what I used to do myself. So in a way, we will have a detailed look at that later. But I give you a very brief overview of a very simple project and control mechanism. Yeah, a project control mechanism. And oh, what is PDCA? That sounds cryptic, isn't it? Yes. Oh, you had Eric before, isn't it? Okay. This is it's his favorite one, and I find it functional at that level. But it's a little bit too simple when we come to project steering in my mind. But it's a taste, flavor thing. Yeah. So I prefer it a little bit more refined. So then we go actually front-end influence, scope of work, programs and portfolios. Then we look a little bit at planning hierarchy, scope, tactical action, and then stages of planning, inception to close out. Then a brief look at work breakdown structures. I actually wanted to look as well at product breakdown structures because more and more of our stuff is modular. Yeah, especially if you work in any energy sector, automotive or aerospace, you won't get around product breakdown structures. But okay, I have actually kind of cut that out due to volume issues. So I have good literature for it. So then control and reporting, then planning and planning techniques, and last but not least, resource management. This is really a brief snapshot of all of those. Yeah, and there's no attempt of really opening up and showing deep, meaningful insight into those things. It's really just an overview. What are functional, planning tools, if you want, that we can draw on. And the literature takes you deeper in. Yeah. So if you're interested in any aspect, go into the literature and actually familiarize yourself. So let's get started with the project control. Yeah. This is a favorite one. Where do you start in this cycle? Yeah, very good. This shows you are project managers. Yeah? It's if you ask that in a design class or it's normally act. Yeah? So you act first and then. Yeah, never mind. Okay. So you start with planning, then you do it, then you check where you are. Yeah. What have we achieved what we wanted to do, and then we act on it. Maybe we recognize achieved, yeah, this small step, or we say like, oh, we're a little bit off the track here, we have to iterate. So this is acting, and then we plan again and move forward. Yeah, and this is a reoccurring cycle, and you basically do it throughout your project life cycle. Then you're on a very safe trip there. Yeah, and it's of course a feedback loop that is very important at that element. A more refined way of looking at it here as well, enlarged with all the tools that we will probably use, is where do we start here? This is more difficult, isn't it? Where do we start? Yeah. One suggestion was scope. Project management plan is a good one. Normally, I have to admit, the initial stage that you normally evaluate is actually trends. They're slightly ambiguous. In the paper, it will make more sense. Yeah, of course, it's not then changes to scope, but the trends initially identify as well project management plan, and then you have actually corrective actions from the environment. But okay, like to talk you once through, we start actually with scope. We kind of scope our project, develop our project management plan around that. Yeah, so that we can actually measure the right things and achieve our scope that we are after. Then schedule, yeah, baseline scheduling, estimating how long it will take, how much resources are needed. Those are normally the elements. And then we monitor as we progress. That is when we are in our control loop. Yeah, so after, you can do that on a daily basis depending on your project, or you set schedule gates. You implement gates where you actually set controlling tools into motion, and then you basically review it. Then you manage change if you need change. Yeah? If there is actually a huge diversion, then you come up, of course, with the action plan, coming back to where you want to go. And then you, out of the action plans come the corrective actions, then potentially changes to scope in some cases. If that is not the case, then you follow the trends, you implement the trends with a project management plan. Yeah, so the central tool here is a project management plan as an information package against the actual activities that are going on. Yeah, so this is as well the power of the project management plan, if it's used. This is important to recognize. Why is so much emphasis on scope on all this? Well, there's a direct implication to the degree of influence in terms of budget, schedule, and scope, in terms of project lifespan to completion, and the cost expenditure. Yeah, so at the beginning, doing changes is actually relatively cheap. Yeah, so you haven't spent anything yet. If you change halfway through the project, you often have a lot of cost implications, and cost expenditure may actually correlate to that. If this is made up, yeah, this can be completely different. It just shows a tendency. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. So in a way, you can as well optimize a project actually with value streaming exercise or functional analysis even in the project and bring costs down. This is as well a possibility, but it's always a question if it actually generates more value to the stakeholders. That's a big question. So scope here defined as the range of the project, breadth and depth, what to do. So very simple and pragmatic. So what is in the slide actually then planning? We have started by project control. Again, the general definition, what is planning, comes normally to this one. Actually, I have a better one. The process of identifying the means, resources, actions necessary to accomplish the objective. Yeah, this is often quite tricky. It's not always as simple. If you have a project like that, this is very good. There is a refined one. This is actually a very outdated one in my mind, but still it has all the all the important aspects in it. So planning is a hierarchical process of making decisions in advance of action. So you decide here as well on commitments of how you're going to deliver the project potentially, what's in the project, what's not. It involves deciding what to do and how to do it. So this is very important. This has to reflect as well in the project management plan. How and what you actually, well, other way around. What you want to do and how you want to do it. And describing this and documenting it for presentation. So that it's a communication tool. It doesn't just help if you have it all in your mind. That is as well a possibility, but that means you have to walk a lot around, and talk a lot, and listen a lot. So that all goes hand in hand. In order to do this, information has to be gathered and analyzed, alternatives have to be developed and evaluated, and choices have to be made. All decisions interdependent and have to be integrated together. So you see that there's a huge emphasis behind this. And it's a promising start, normally planning. Doesn't solve all the problems, we'll come to that later, but it's a good start. So why is planning important? At strategic level, it directs by focusing on what the business is about. So it gives as well the possibility to check actually, do you have reasonable governance in place? Have you actually understood what the business wants from your project to deliver in terms of benefits, yeah, to the overall organization. Yeah, so here it's things like, does it comply with the vision, mission, goals, objectives, and then provides a link between where we want to go and how we get there. Yeah, so maybe in terms of focus, yeah, where you want to move, and allows us to see the risk and range of possibilities by considering the current situation and what might be threatened, what might threaten it, or what opportunities or for benefits might occur. Yeah, so this is as well the recognition that benefits may become apparent due to the projects. Let us have a few examples of such. There are very famous projects that completely missed to achieve their success, that brought huge benefits for the organization. Especially pharmacy had a lot of stories like that, where they were after certain cures and they found something completely different, which was a lot more profitable, sadly. Yeah? But who would have thought? So, and last but not least, it helps us to control through PDCA. Plan? Do? Yeah, check, action, very good. Yeah, so indirectly, this is kind of the medium how we can control quite easily. Yeah. Planning hierarchy. Normally, we start by the scope and tactics and action. Yeah, so we start with that and break it then down into actions. From the general to the specific is normally the recommendation. There are a few exceptions. In some industries, we start actually the other way around. Yeah, but do you know such an industry? Where do we start with the specifics first? Software. Yeah, this is a good one. Well, it's normally when you come to systems or complex designs. Yeah, that is normally where you look first at the interactions, and you start with the refinements. But this is very unique. Then you often start still to afterwards. You often still try to get first the bigger picture before you integrate that. Yeah. So what does that actually mean? What are the roles of planning and why do we do it? What do we use it for? Yeah, this is a very important thing to realize. Planning hierarchies are normally action planning, coordination, control, forecasting, and optimization efforts. What are optimization efforts? What do we try to do in a project? Simplified? Do we try to perform nicer? It's often efficiency drives, yeah? Performance and driven towards productivity. Yeah? So I didn't want to make it too cryptic, but this is basically the idea behind it. With this planning hierarchy, I've given you as well the detailed list. So this is in the paper, yeah? But in a way, this is where you have to go in and decide what you're interested in. Yeah? So don't panic. This is not what we're going through now. So there is a planning hierarchy. It goes from the broad to the details. Yeah? So at the top we have priorities, the objectives of the overall project, potential trade-offs, and at the bottom, number 13, using accumulated records to systematically inform and like making it work. So it's like literally a list from very broad to very detailed, and then looking at the interconnections. I hope that makes sense. Have a look at this. There's a lot of literature around that stuff. Yeah. Then stages of planning. What are they? We start, of course, with the inception. Is there a project, first of all? Yeah, recognizing the urgency or the need for it, yeah, or maybe the will. Yeah, and then we have an outline, design and feasibility. Will it work? What are the costs? So you remember basically I should have really put here my beautiful diagram in again. And then a more detailed design. Then we employ, of course, the procurement process, how we want to deliver it. And then it's a question of production. Yeah? So what is your production mode, and how will you actually do with it? And last but not least, close out, review, and use. And lessons learned as well that you want to take forward. Yeah? Stages of planning, next to those that we had, often much more complex. Yeah? Often you have as well, before the inception even, you have to decide if you have lessons learned. You have to justify how you will improve the mistakes that you did last time, potentially. Yeah, and you may actually have other partners on board that require adaptation too. Yeah, so there are more dimensions that actually add to that. Yeah, the procurement issue is a huge one. Sometimes if you outsource everything, then you are literally kind of just steering or controlling from the inception stage onwards. So there are implications with it. And the other question is, of course, who do we normally get for planning? Would you like to plan? Actually, this is a quick pool. Who would like to plan projects? Oh, okay. Thank you. A few. I was a little bit worried there. Initially, nobody, and then we had like a few hands rising. I like that. Yeah. So planning is one option, one job option, and it's a good one. Yeah. So I really enjoyed planning. It's a problem if you're the project manager too. Then I saw myself very often after the normal day of work, sitting at home and doing the planning and updating. So this is then a little bit a dilemma, but this comes in a way sometimes with the job description, depending on what project you're working on. Yeah. So when we actually looked now at different project types, yeah, and we had already actually more updated and refined project types, if you think about it. There's certainly an implication about mainstream projects, yeah, so those are still unique projects that you're doing, and then new stream projects that may be stakeholder driven or design driven. Yeah, so they have different implications, and they require different planning. And actually, we will look at that as well in the seminar. Yeah, we actually take a project management plan completely apart, I hope. And then the only certainty in most projects is uncertainty. Yeah, this is a favorite quote from Eric, actually. So I've kept it here. We often try to plan, of course, to shed light and show a way of doing it in uncertain times. Yeah, this is exactly our approach. So, and how do the expert planners actually deal with it? Or often producers that actually get into this. So I will break that down a little bit. So project managers cannot predict the future, although we are pretty good in this, I think. But accurately gauging the degree of uncertainty inherent in their project can help them quickly adapt to it. This is a slightly older quote as well, but you see already the notion where we basically cluster projects into typologies again, and then we can actually match our capabilities against this. So what are the different types of uncertainty? This is a different way of categorizing the project. Yeah? If you remember the project portfolio selection, there was a different way of doing it to this one. And here again, you can work with expertise or comfort of the project manager. So variation comes from small influences, too small to plan for individually, such as worker sickness. The results variations, however, can be planned and monitored. You should monitor, especially if you have a large project where a lot of workers are involved, then one being sick in a key stage can be quite essential. Then foreseen uncertainty, identifiable and understood influences which may or may not occur, needs risk analysis and contingency can be provided for just in case. So here the example was really a drug company and the side effects of a new drug. So we can actually deal with this. And then unforeseen uncertainty, there is no plan B. So something happens that you couldn't foresee. Arguably, that is what the project governance guys were all about. The team is unaware of the event's possibility. So yeah, the heart medication that ate up a lot of funding, which became Viagra, was actually meant to solve heart problems. And it didn't succeed. The trials were actually negative, but they were very fortunate. Viagra turned out to be a bigger sales thing than the heart condition thing. So there you go. Who would have thought? Then there as well chaos projects. Even basic structure of the project plan is uncertain. This can be, I don't know why he picked so much on IT developments, but fair enough. IT developments when research not developed, when research not development is a goal. So you are literally after developing a program to solve the issues. You don't have the indicators now. You work with the stakeholders together and make it a project for them. And you can probably come up with like your own examples of that. So what is behind this? In other words, if we have a discovery, or if we have like a rough direction and a project type, an environment, then we have actually already kind of discovery. And a discovery is a precondition or a causal startup for allowing us to project. So let's have a look at how do we plan and control these circumstances, and let's look at how predictability of projects actually works. So planning accuracy, uncertainty is proportional to the time and planning requirement accuracy. What does it mean? There's actually a pretty cool graph to that. Why didn't I put that in? It's literally the notion at the beginning of a new, unique project, you know very little about the implications. After the project, you're probably quite knowledgeable about what went wrong and what didn't go wrong if you have reviewed it on a regular basis. So by implication, the longer you have time as well to plan it, and maybe look at parallel projects, the more informed you are potentially about risks that can turn up and dangers that happen to past projects. Risk is, of course, just making you aware what dangers are around. So in a way, this is, of course, a huge dilemma for us. One way of doing it is actually developing a certain planning accuracy. Actually, let me close the door. So here we have, if you want, on the right side, strategic level down to production or the project level, then the production in short term, and then the production actually weekly and daily. That kind of emphasizes this. At the top, we are, of course, after total information. So absolute planning accuracy would come if you have full information. We often don't have that. Even during the project, we normally are selective with what information we gather and what we keep. We come to that actually when we look at information and knowledge management. And there's a huge issue with this. So information gathering has to do to a certain degree with the logic, how we sequence this, what the method is, how strong it is, and what resources we actually look for. And this, of course, is influenced as well, especially the use of method and what resources we are looking for by the experience. So and then we have kind of a performance data indice, and the dilemma with projects is that often there are many different ways of performing. So it's normally very applied and personalized information gathering if you do it very sufficiently. But nonetheless, it's a good way. And with the methods and the resource allocation, you arrive, of course, at different alternatives and how you can deal with it. And it informs basically the overall logic and how you can sequence it to actually deal with it. I've broken it down a little bit. So who should be actually involved in the plan? This is not who should be planning. Be careful. Don't suggest to your client that he should do the planning. I would like to see that actually, but it's not a personal recommendation. You can still do the planning, or your planning team does the planning. But you need the information, of course, from the people that have probably the best insight into that potentially hold the information, or they know. They're the people that are best described as knowing about the stuff that you try to achieve. So this could be, for example, client. I think this is actually drawn from an infrastructure project, but still, nonetheless, you get the idea. Everyone should be actually put in and see if the planning is feasible. There's no point in having a plan that is considered crazy from everybody. Maybe it's exciting then, you can make it a bet against the odds, but normally we inform it by the client, defining the needs, implementation schedule, then design team, managing the briefing, design development. Briefing is as well potentially a focus group, to actually come to terms with what's feasible. And then the implementation group, producing the system or facility, and last but not least, facilities management group or maintenance is testing and commissioning and using it, of course. So with this, consider, can project managers plan? This is a big question always. Actually, in my old department, we had huge debates about this. Should we plan? I apparently belong to the hard group of project managers, and I'm supposed to be a little bit ashamed about that. I do like measuring. It's just a good feeling, I think. But a lot of my colleagues are very charismatic, and they like to talk a lot. And I do like talking as well. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but and listening in particular. Yeah, but in reality, it's a healthy mix of hard tools and techniques. Yeah, with soft skills, yeah, or the soft tools of the project manager. The soft tools is making sure that you have captured stakeholders' expectations, that you make sure that the picture that you're delivering is in the scope as well what they kind of expect. Yeah? And so there are a lot of notions. You can do it as well the hard way. That what I really liked, visualization, communicating in many different ways. Then you can capture as well a bigger audience in my mind, but this is disputed. Yeah? So, and again, it comes back. Yeah? Can project managers plan? Can suppliers plan? Actually, they all do their planning to a degree. Yeah? It's, of course, aligning it into one. Do designers know how to plan? And but last but not least, what about the client and their input? Yeah? So there are certain implications here. Normally, what do we use in planning techniques? This is actually a very brief overview, quite frankly. As I mentioned, there are a lot more that we use probably beyond that. So it's traditionally we have managed it with lists. The most simple one is a to-do list. So have I done this? Click, ticked off. Yeah? Or then you feel the achievement as the list gets shorter. And then if you work with certain colleagues, it gets actually longer once you tick them off. So it's interesting. But yeah, never mind. So in lists, we have bar charts, network, and purge, then visual methods, and as well new computing softwares. You had Monte Carlo, for example, with Claudio. Yeah? It's a wonderful risk technique that can as well be visualized. You can come up with scenarios. There are beautiful bubble diagrams where risk potentially hits you in the project life cycle, where likelihoods are. So this is pretty cool stuff. And well, anyway, we have a lot of different tools as well that actually go a little bit beyond the list aspect. Oh, there was a question. Have you all used them? Who has used all of those before? Yes? Yeah, okay, there were at least 3 arms, but it's not the majority, so there will be potentially the gap for 1 or 2. So let's have a quick look. Oh, my plus is already there. I'm actually quite comfortable with product breakdown structures, but this is from my background. Yeah, it defines all the products, deliverables that the project will actually produce. Another one is a work breakdown structure, and that is really well, as it says on the tin, defines all the work to produce deliverables. And you can, of course, functionally break this down. So you have, for example, a work assignment. Now this is the first level of breakdown. Then you come to the task. What do we need to do to actually do the work? And then you maybe even have subtasks. Yeah? There is a third level. This is normally where you would, out of functionality purpose, stop it, or you make it whole work packages that teams work on. Yeah? So if you have like a very refined project, building a plane or something like that. Why a plane? Plane is actually not that difficult. But yeah, okay. If you have something like really challenging, then you can divide it probably further. Yeah. So my ideal, I wanted to have a hard problem here for us that you can kind of all relate to, and I kind of felt that making a good cup of tea is kind of a very British thing. Yeah? So I took this forward here. So this is a work breakdown structure at task level for making a cup of tea. Yeah? So are you with me? Yeah? So you need to be. This is kind of tailored around my kitchen, I have to admit. Yeah? Some people may have like more advanced tea making techniques. Yeah? So it's literally starting by fill a kettle, switch the kettle on, boil water. Yeah. I have a subtask here. I don't boil it to the end. I pre-boil it so that when I press the boil button again, I know it's a little bit expensive on the energy use. Alex would have issues at that point with me. But then, the scald pot, yeah, very important. Put the tea bag in pot, yeah, reboil. This is my another stage that I have. Pour water, place pot on tray, then put milk into jug. Put sugar into bowl if you want sugar. Yeah, I don't actually. But then get the tray, place milk and sugar and cup on it, serve, tea has been served. Start to finish time. What are guesses for this? How long does it take? Well, when you work on your assignment and you're like, how long do I need to get away for? 2 minutes. Oh, okay, this is fast. 2 minutes is fast. You are. This is like a direct challenge on my time here. And any other times? 6 minutes. I like this. This is not so ambiguous on my side. Yeah, this is a good example. Yeah, between 2 and 6 minutes, I go with that. So, what are the general aspects of a work breakdown structure? Well, it doesn't show the sequence of work actually directly. Yeah? So you have to arrive there. Don't actually plan necessarily in more detail than you can manage. If it gets too small, then it's so. For example, we could now time as well how long it takes for the sugar cube in my tea to dissolve. This is a little bit over the top, quite frankly.
It depends how much you fill the kettle as well. Do you fill this full?
Yeah.
Just for 1 cup?
Yeah, I just went here already. The refinement critics. It's quite right. Yeah.
About risk assessment if you don't have any electricity at the moment or power.
It's okay. I have a hydro energy plant that I stick on the top and I put the water on and then no, I'm joking. But that won't work actually. That is a bad example. Yeah? But anyway, So there are some issues. I haven't refined it too much. Yeah. So task to duration should be linked, of course, to the review period, and the project activities or even subtasks should have a duration no longer than 1 to 3 weeks, because otherwise it becomes burdening. You will see then it's not a motivation thing anymore. Important one for this one is estimating resources. Often an exact estimate is impossible. Yeah? I've tried to make it a very simple example here to actually arrive at that. The more experience there is of an activity, the easier it is to estimate, of course. And people are punished for failure, they will pad estimates. Yeah, so be careful with that. It means as well if you employ a certain culture with the carrot and stick. I don't know if you remember the metaphor from my previous explanations, but there's implication for that. And project estimates assumes 50% probability estimates are used unless specified otherwise. Yeah, see, we kind of covered it a little bit with a punishment. Yeah, so if you have a lot of projects in the bidding where your bidding team doesn't get the project and they are penalized, like why do you do those bids? They don't seem to add up. That is, of course, when they start like basically adjusting the bids to get the bids. And that is potentially when you have crazy projects, when you actually have bidded for a non-profit project. Yeah. Well, it turns out to be a non-profit project for you, and this is, of course, a huge dilemma. Okay. We have actually consensual estimating. Yeah? So the estimating actually improves. This may be over time. Oh. I've just realized I probably should have used the new PowerPoint. My X's are not where they're supposed to be. The X's were before at the beginning and end, but the idea is still the same. So estimates can be actually close within reach, but it's of course better to spread them out over time to actually inform where you arrive with it. Yeah, and then we have as well logical dependencies. So here again, hardly translated into our tea example. Yeah, so we have a start. So boil water, I click it, and then at the same time somebody else could put the milk in the jug. This is an independent tasking, yeah, that can be run in parallel. Yeah. Sorry, are there any questions? Yeah.
Registration machine.
Yeah, sorry, I said earlier you are all here because my registration machine doesn't work. Okay, so and then we have as well finish dependencies. This is of course fill kettle. Yeah, this was your example. Yeah, so I hadn't refined it clearly enough. Yeah, put tap on, hold kettle under. Yeah, okay. So we could go a step further there, and then switch the kettle on. Yeah, so you need to fill it first and then switch it on. You can switch it on first, but that doesn't do the deal. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. And then finish, put milk into the jug and put sugar in the jug. You can do that simultaneously if you're talented. Yeah? This is a question of dexterity. This is kind of skill advanced. It can go wrong. It can go terribly wrong. I have experienced it. flipping it from the side is dangerous, all I'm saying. Yeah? Okay, here's my activity network. It's actually critical path analysis, quite frankly. Yeah, so here's how I have timed this. So we have kind of the start. This is actually when I pressed my stopwatch, yeah, quite frankly. And then my friend basically recorded. Fill kettle, 10 seconds. I have a slow tap running, yeah, so the flow rate is not very fast. Yeah. Switch the kettle on, 3 seconds. I wasn't the quickest.
3
Yeah.
seconds for switching kettle on.
I know.
Just 1 second, isn't it?
There is space for improvement. I see the criticism straight away. Yeah. Okay, then we have to boil the water, and it takes time. I filled the kettle up too much. I noticed at this point. Yeah, we make a pot. We don't just make a cup. Yeah, be with me there. Then I preheat my pot. This is important stuff.
Oh, that put tea above in 5 seconds for that. It's just
Yeah, but you had it already. I had to go to the cupboard and take the tea. Okay, I can see that there's certain criticism already with this. Yeah, I can see. We have here an audience that is efficiently trimmed. Yeah, I'm not that efficient. I have to apologize. There's room for improvement. This is good, you know. And then, okay, you see what's happening here, and there's a whole parallel. Pardon? Yeah. So the seconds is literally how long it took me, and you can see there was parallel movement going on. Yeah, so there is another whole parallel activity path. Actually, at the bottom here, I put milk into jug. This is presentation. Yeah, here we are refining really what we kind of get, and at the same time we could leave the boil the water and preheat my pot and everything. Yeah, the critical one. Yeah, we can actually compare the times. Is the orange one? Yeah, it was actually yellow in the slides initially, but here orange. Yeah. So that is actually the critical path. So that is the one that makes the time dependence overall. Yeah. So this is literally what we could use it for. There are other activity networks and nodes as well. You can do as well power analysis or structure analysis with it. Yeah, actors actually working with your project. Pretty cool tools, especially for visualization when you want to figure out when activities become critical. Yeah.
what I don't understand in your activities, reboil. Why do we have to reboil the water? If we boil that once, it should be right, no?
Yeah, but then when you put the hot water in the pot, then the pot is cool, and you know
it's not official, and then it's like not sustainable, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
you're
okay,
wasting
yeah,
electricity twice.
Yeah, I pointed that out earlier. Alex would have as well attacked me for that. There's a lot of improvement in this here, potentially, yeah? Okay. I see you have already the sharp eye, this is good, yeah? Okay, then another evaluation tool is the review technique PERT. This is literally looking at probability versus distribution of activities time. And what is this used for? What is it?
Standard deviation graph.
Yeah, but what do we use that for in a project?
Is it to see how far an activity will take overall below the average time?
Yeah, this was partly right. We have to extend that a little bit. Sorry, what did you say?
Program.
Program was the term.
The chart.
No, I mean, okay, yeah, sorry. The PERT is P-E-R-T from the title. Yeah, but what do we use it for? Why do we do something like that?
To estimate the duration of the
Yeah.
project.
So you can use it for risk, or when most activities happen, for example, yeah, that you are actually staffing accurately. Yeah, you may have like work hours. You have like work hours for 4 people, but in reality they all happen in 3 hours. Yeah, that means you have how many? More people. Yeah. Okay, never mind. It's it multiplies. Yeah, this is the idea. Okay, but this is quite good stuff too. The idea behind it is for a task, optimistic duration, likely duration, pessimistic duration. This is linear. Yeah, we have actually cooler models for that. But to get the idea, this is a good start. Okay, then we have the Gantt chart. This is normally the favorite. I see this in every PMP, and sometimes surprisingly. But this is my Gantt chart for my tea making. Yeah, so yeah, this is how you could show it. What does it? What does the yellow mean?
Not float.
Fork?
Fold.
Fold.
No, float.
Float.
Yeah.
Spot on. Yeah. So it means it doesn't really matter if I start this right here. I could start it proportionally as well, probably here. Is that roughly? Yeah. So you can basically the 10 seconds as long as you started before the place pot on tray activity is finished. Yeah. Then you are safe. Yeah, but you get it. There's a dependency. It identifies when we can start activities, when we have to have started activities, and where potential flow times are. So this allows us as well that if something goes wrong, that we have actually the possibility of rescheduling. Yeah? And informing, of course, everybody that is involved. That is not good to have just in your cupboard and not telling anybody. This is when you have a lot of upset people actually standing around potentially. Oh, we are running out of time. Okay, you see the timing. It's always the timing. I should have timed this better. Okay, I have 3 more slides to control and reporting. I will just, I have uploaded it already. And you can just read through it. It's like a little bit a reminder. Yeah? We have a look of advanced application of actually resource management and as well control and steering. Yeah? So we go in quite a bit of detail. So you don't miss too much, but familiarize yourself with the basics first, yeah? That we don't start at 0. Any questions at that point? Okay, super. I see you later in the seminar. Otherwise, come to the front, yeah?